You think you know how stories like this end. You've seen the clips, read the comments, watched people argue themselves in circles. Another cop, another black man, another internal review. That's what I thought too. That's what Officer Kyle Vanner thought. But this wasn't one of those stories. This was the day someone finally misjudged the wrong man, and yeah, that happened. It was hot that day, the kind of southern heat that doesn't just sit on your skin. It presses down on you, makes everything feel heavier than it needs to be. Charleston has that way about it. I remember sitting outside the coffee shop, the same one I liked because nobody rushed me there. Black coffee, no sugar, hands resting on the arms of my chair. To most people, I was invisible. An old black man in a wheelchair parked out of the way, not bothering anyone. People see the chair before they see the person. You know what I mean? They make up a whole story about you in half a second, and they're usually wrong. But I was watching. I always watch. Old habits don't disappear just because your legs don't work the way they used to. I noticed the patrol car before it noticed me. Slow pass, another slow pass, third time around same block. That's not coincidence. That's fishing. And I remember thinking, here we go. The barista Sarah, she came out to refill my cup. Sweet kid. Blue hair, back then nervous smile, but she looked people in the eye. That mattered more than she probably realized. We joked for a second, nothing special, just human stuff, and then the air changed. You feel it before you hear it. Tires on concrete, an engine cutting hard. Silence falling where noise used to be. Officer Vanner stepped out of his cruiser like he owned the sidewalk. Tall, broad sunglasses on, even though nobody else needed them. One of those guys who doesn't walk toward a situation, he stalks it like he wants everyone to know he's arrived. His eyes moved over the tables, over the well-dressed couples, over the stroller, and then they stopped on me. Locked in, decision made. You, he said, pointing like I was a dog that wandered too close. Move. I took a second, not to be dramatic, just to let him show who he was. Me, officer, I asked. He marched closer, boots heavy, belt creaking, hand hovering near his gear like he was itching for an excuse. Yeah, you. You're blocking the sidewalk. I looked down. There was plenty of space. Anyone with eyes could see that. There's room, I said. I'm just having my coffee. That's when he leaned in close enough that I could smell stale tobacco and cheap cologne. I didn't ask for your opinion, Pop. You're creating a hazard. Pop. Funny how one word can tell you everything you need to know. I kept my hands visible. Calm voice. No sudden moves. I'm a paying customer, I said. I've got a receipt. He didn't care. This was never about a sidewalk. This was about him feeling big. He dropped his voice real quiet. You don't belong in this neighborhood, do you? There it was. Not law. Territory. Ownership. Sarah came out, bless her heart. Officer, he's here every day. He's not bothering anyone. He snapped at her like she'd stepped out of line. Threatened her with a citation just for speaking. And when she didn't back down, when she stood there shaking but still standing, that flipped something in him. Last warning, he said to me, baton hand twitching. Move the chair or I'll move it for you. I'm exactly where I need to be, I told him. I meant it. That's when he grabbed the joystick on my chair. I said, don't touch that. I didn't raise my voice, didn't plead, just stated a fact. He yanked it anyway. The motors kicked in, the chair lurched, slammed into the table. Coffee flew. The table tipped. I went sideways, belt biting into my chest pain, lighting up parts of my body I'd learned to live with but never really forget. People gasped. Phones came up. Sarah screamed. Someone yelled to call the police. And Vanner, he smiled. Looks like you lost control, he said, like this was a joke he'd rehearsed. He pulled his taser, aimed it right at my chest. Get out of the chair, now! I looked at the weapon, then back at him. No panic, just math. You're making a mistake, I said, a career-ending one. He laughed. Of course he did. On the ground. Stop reaching. I wasn't reaching. My hands were open, resting where he could see them. I'm paralyzed, I said clearly. If you fire that, you could kill me. For a split second, just one, he hesitated. You could see it. Then his pride kicked in. Stolen valor, he said. You people say anything. He put the taser away and grabbed his baton. Fine, I'll help you. He yanked me forward, dumped me onto the concrete. My face scraped the ground, breath knocked clean out of me. Then his knee came down into my back. Stop resisting, he shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. The cuffs snapped on tight, cutting into my wrists. That's when I said his name, Officer Vanner. He froze. How do you know my name? I told him I knew a lot of things. His badge number, his transfer, the complaints that never made it past a desk. He backed away like I'd slapped him, gun coming out this time, hands shaking now. "Who are you?" I told him to check the chair, the tag on the back. He did, and I watched his face drain when he read it. DOJ, FBI, classified asset. He stammered, accused me of stealing it. I told him to grab my phone call, the last number. It said director. He didn't want to. Everyone could see that, but he did it anyway. Speaker on, one ring. A voice answered that every cop in the region would recognize. Calm, controlled, dangerous in its restraint. "Your beacon just triggered. Are you compromised?" Vanner swallowed hard, introduced himself like a kid caught in a lie. The voice dropped. "Where is Agent Bennett?" I told him. "On the ground, in cuffs." What followed was silence. Heavy, crushing silence. Then instructions. Clear ones. "Holster your weapon. Help him back into his chair. Wait." Federal units were already moving. When the SUVs came in, they didn't roll. They jumped the curb. Agents spilled out like they'd been waiting for this moment. Phones were collected, statements taken. My cuffs were cut off with bolt cutters, not keys. That mattered. The local sergeant showed up late and confused. I told him to take Vanner's badge and gun. He didn't argue. He just did it. Watching that badge come off, watching the weight leave Vanner's chest, I didn't feel happy. I felt finished. There's a difference. Later that night, while the video was tearing through the internet, Vanner sat in his living room telling himself this would blow over, that cops protect their own. His union rep told him the truth. There was no fixing it. I wasn't just some old man. I was bait, integrity unit, stress test, and the phone he held, the one he waved around so confidently, it wasn't just a phone. It copied everything, texts, photos, group chats, all of it. When the knock came again, it wasn't local police, it was federal. He walked out in cuffs. In the interrogation room, hours later, he sat shaking, waiting for someone to save him. The door opened. I walked in, slowly, with a cane. He stared like he'd seen a ghost. "You can walk," he whispered. I told him I could stand when I had to. Pain is a good teacher. He talked after that. Names, places, cash. Corruption has a sound when it collapses, and it's not loud. It's desperate. 6 months later, the courtroom was quiet. 15 years. No parole. People gasped. I didn't. Justice isn't about gasps. It's about lines being drawn where they should have been all along. A year after that, I sat by the park feeding birds, enjoying the quiet. Sarah walked up in uniform, badge, polished, posture straight. She asked me how it felt. I told her to never let the badge feel light, that it's a promise, not a pass. So here's what I want to know. Was 15 years enough? Or was it just the cost of doing what should have been done sooner? And if you'd been there standing 10 feet away with your phone in your hand, would you have spoken up? Or would you have waited for someone else to do it? Tell me what you think. I really want to hear it. And if you've seen something like this, lived through it, or stopped it from going further, share that too. Stories like this don't end when the camera shuts off. They end when people decide they're done looking away.